All right, everybody, welcome back to Beans No Ball here for Bean Talk episode 11. Obviously, once again, we're on a different location. I believe, what is this, like our fourth week in a row? It was back on campus, right here, back in your room, in my room now. Still a little temporary, gonna do this. I mean, we'll see. If this works, it works. So Christian, I'll let you get us started with this 11th episode.
Yeah, so obviously, we had some pretty big things going on in the NFL after the last week game. So let's just start off going with, what is this Broncos front office doing? What is Sean Payton and John Lynch doing with the whole Russell Wilson situation? I believe it was literally yesterday that they are going to bench him for the last two games, I guess, to avoid injury. So, he wouldn't, get hurt for whoever team he's going for. Yeah, avoid injury. I think that's pretty stupid. I mean, from the beginning of the season, I kind of saw that, Russell Wilson, he's going to have a bounce back season. And he was having a pretty good season overall. Don't get me wrong, for this Broncos team. Obviously, he isn't the whole team, and obviously he would get blamed for losses because he's the quarterback, but he's having generally a really great season. And, for Sean Payton and John Elway deciding to bench Russell Wilson for these next two games to avoid injury when we know that wasn't true. I guess
it's just for the contract reasons, obviously.
Yeah, the contract reasons, what I was going for. They give up a lot for Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson's been having a very great season for the Broncos. Obviously, most things didn't come their way, but you really can't put the blame on Russ. Sure, there were a couple of games where, he did cost him the game, but overall, he's been having a pretty okay season for this Broncos team, and, he led them to where they really needed to be, and obviously flaws within that team stopped them, and, I just didn't like this coaching decision from Sean Payton to bench him for these remaining two games, and in March, it does look like they are going to cut him for contract purposes, but overall, I don't like this at all whatsoever. Russ didn't do anything to deserve this.
Yeah, obviously, I believe this was already told since I forget which game, but they talked about this
since October.
Since October, and look, that was just about the time that the Broncos really started picking this back up. They actually started looking like a playoff caliber team, and what they rattle off like 5 wins in a row, and
they're at a 5-game win streak. Yeah,
and then look, to think that he was still being that leader and putting this team on his back despite knowing that this front office had already turned on him. It's extremely commendable for him as a leader, as the team's quarterback. But honestly, you see the rumblings. Obviously, once he's probably going to be released, we'll see. He's probably jokes. Would he go back to Seattle? Obviously, probably not. Honestly, bridges are pretty burned there. But I've been things to consider. Look at the Raiders were definitely a spot that was considered for him before he did get to Denver. The Raiders were one of his preferred destinations. I know the Titans also were an option, if they decide to move on from Will Levis, or maybe let Will Levis learn from Russell for a couple of years. And also, a team that we're always talking about, actually 2 teams that we always talk about need a quarterback, the Steelers and the Falcons. You never know. A lot. There's a lot of teams that either in the draft could be looking, and if they can't get a quarterback in the draft, Russell Wilson's probably either Russell or Kirk are going to be.
Honestly, if I see Russell Wilson realistically probably going more with the Raiders or Steelers, since they basically have both those teams. Yeah. They kind of have the fundamentals built around that team, the receivers, the defense, maybe the O-line a bit. They're just a quarterback away. We talked about it with the Raiders. That defense is really, really having such a huge improvement from the past couple of weeks. That defense is looking very, very nice. Obviously, they need to play some competition, but still and it's still an NFL team. So they've been heavily improving. The offense is looking pretty okay. I think the Raiders they just need that quarterback. Same with the Steelers. I think Mason Rudolph, he's doing that one game. He did pretty well. I'm not going to base off the next 2 games based off that one game because we see how that was. But Russell Wilson with the Steelers, I wouldn't actually mind that being a horrible fit. Him and George Pickens, that could probably be like a lethal duo next season if that is to come to the case.
Yeah, I agree with that too, but I almost really agree with you, mainly saying how Vegas would probably be his preferred destination. There's the idea that what are you really getting with Mike Tomlin? Just writing it out with going for those 9 and 8 seasons. But you look at Vegas, and if they maintain Antonio Pierce, obviously he's not a seasoned head coach, but obviously you think if they bring in a quarterback like Russell, and if they bring in a pretty good offensive coordinator, they're definitely fine. You see how fucked up the West looks right now. Also, it just depends on who the Chargers end up hiring. They could also make some noise, but I really do think that a big thing. You know, they're just a quarterback and a offensive, like a big offensive mind away from really honestly contending in this pretty tight division now that it looks.
Yeah, really. I mean, now that you really put in there, Raiders, he could probably be the better fit with there. And then looking with Devontae Adams and what he can do, he can very much. I mean, really his only competition, I guess you could say, really be the Chiefs. But when we're looking at Justin Herbert as well with the Chargers, he's really a coach away from actually achieving greatness. And then, by all means, that's really great. And then having the Broncos in that division as well, with how they're looking at it, Russ leaves, really doubt they can do anything.
The way that front office is looking, it's going to be tough to get a big name to actually get in there, if we're being honest.
I really doubt John Elway is really going to cook up anything to help improve, because let's be honest, they have the worst Super Bowl drought. I'm not Super Bowl drought, the worst Super Bowl experience after the win. That's probably like the worst that the team's ever
look at
done.
the quarterbacks they've had since
Manning
retired. It's Paxton Lynch, Trevor Siemian, a bunch of nobodies. Drew Lock had some time. He had it was decent, okay, for a bit.
He's all right, but yeah.
I mean, just looking at the AFC West, even the Chiefs, they're not looking as that scary as they've usually looked. Obviously, I mean, at the same time, we could say a lot about the Chiefs that, if they get a quarterback, if they get like a more talented receiver core, then, they're obviously back in the mix of probably dominating that division. But, I mean, looking at the hierarchy of the AFC, let's talk about right now with the 1 seed, and obviously probably a little more narrowed down and with teams that we didn't expect to be out here. Obviously the Chiefs are out of the 1 seed conversation. They're gonna have to play a road game at some point, but I mean, we got 3 teams realistically that are probably still fighting. Let's probably say 2 teams, because the Ravens need to lose out, Browns need to win out to really get into that 1 seed. But I mean, this game next week, this weekend with the Broncos and the Dolphins, probably going to determine who gets that 1 seed.
It's just the Ravens and the Dolphins that are playing.
What'd I say?
For this week, you said Broncos, but just correcting me there. But
I mean,
it's gonna be Dolphins Ravens. Yeah, it's Dolphins Ravens, and those 2 teams. Dolphins coming off a big win against the Cowboys last week, and that
both teams coming off massive wins.
Yeah, so both those teams coming up massive wins. Ravens absolutely demolishing the Niners. So a lot of momentum going for both these teams. And obviously, it's going to show a lot to prove. I guess you could say obviously Lamar's already getting into the MVP conversation, and everyone's already arguing his stats don't look the same, but he is valuable to his team. Lots of arguments you may make there. Dolphins finally be a team above 500, which was the Cowboys, and can they top it off again coming against this very high-powered Ravens defense? Let alone, because the defense, that's really the focal point of this Ravens team. The defense is really looking nice. It's putting less pressure on the offense, obviously, and Lamar's obviously being able to cook. So obviously, I really think, because look, 3 teams: Ravens, Dolphins, Browns. Those are the 3 potential teams for the 1 seed. Like you said, Browns, they need Ravens to lose out, which I really doubt it's going to happen. The winner of that game is really going to determine who gets the 1 seed. And let's be real here, it's probably going to be the Ravens with how they're looking like. That defense, though, how great it is. I'd be looking sometimes, Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey, they're great players, but sometimes, the secondary, they can be easily ready, with Tyreek Hill. I don't know the status on Jalen Waddle yet, since he did get out during that Cowboys game, but Tyreek Hill, obviously, he's gonna have another good game, and that defense is gonna have to make some adjustments if they probably want to win this game. But I believe the Ravens are favored in this game, but who knows? Can the Dolphins do still have a possibility of getting this game? Once again, Tua, proving everybody wrong for all the shit talk he's been getting for these past couple of weeks of him not being able to win without Tyreek, Waddle, and his weapons and all this and that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think another big thing too. I mean, you talk about the Ravens defense really helping out their offense. I mean, the Dolphins defense too. They really had probably a statement performance against the Cowboys last week. Obviously, since that first drive, the fumble at the 1 yard line. Just, I mean, as a whole, the defense stand. I mean, sure, 20 points. It's not great. It's not bad, but obviously
that fumble was a big momentum change.
Yeah, only giving up 20 points, you could see it as, it's a decent amount, but, holding the Cowboys offense, they've been able to put up big numbers on a lot of teams. And, obviously I wouldn't say they held Dak in check too much, because, still Dak still played a great game. I will give you that, but, just the Dolphins defense is, of course, peaking at the right time. Obviously, Bradley Chubb having a really good game. I'd like to see a little more from Jalen. Obviously, he had a good start to the season, but he's probably slowed it down just a bit. But I mean, as a whole, these 2 teams are just peaking at the right time. It's going to be a great game. I know we both have the Ravens going into this, but realistically, the Dolphins definitely have a good shot, and I know they still need the Steelers to beat the Ravens in Week 18 if they want to get a shot. And of course, the Dolphins still have to play the Bills, which we know they got blown out near the start of the season. Which sure, different teams now, but a lot of different scenarios that are still possible here. And obviously, on the NFC side, there's a lot of scenarios that we can talk about that with the Niners loss that really opens it up. I mean, at times, as much as I wanted to see the Niners lose, I kind of would have wanted to see them win these games so they would rest the starters and let get an easier game against the Rams in Week 18. But now that obviously they need these wins, the Eagles maintain their position. Even the Lions are definitely still alive for that 1 seed.
Yeah, there's a lot of different scenarios for this, and that's kind of the thing that really bugged me because Cowboys ended up. If Cowboys
put yourself in a great spot to get that one.
Yeah. If Cowboys ended up beating the Dolphins and the Niners literally ended up losing, we would have been in such a much better position. We would have been in such a much better position for the Cowboys to take the 1 seed because all Philly needs to do is lose one more game. And the way they played against that Giants team, they have the Cardinals and the Giants again. It's very much possible they could lose one of those games. And the Niners, I believe they have to lose 2 games, or they had to lose 2 games, or if not, they had to lose out. I'm not too sure which one, but we would have been
2 games. So lose out.
Yeah, so they would now have to lose out for us.
Not happening against the Commanders, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I mean they are going to Washington, but still, I really doubt Sam Howell's going to cook anything
up. The way they're
up,
looking at, which actually it won't even be Sam Howell, it'll be Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Brissett, that's right. He did get the starting position. Yesterday.
He is looking better. So I mean, if you really think about it, maybe there's a shot. But I mean, realistically, I don't really think that's going to end up happening. And obviously, still, if we're thinking about who has the hardest path right now, it's definitely the Cowboys, which you see that we're talking up Jacoby Brissett. That's going to be your Week 18 matchup. And obviously this week, sure, it's at home, but it's against a great team. Yeah. And, that Lions defense, sure, that doesn't really get you too scared. But the way the Cowboys defense has been kind of stuttering here and there, you would probably think that Lions offense is definitely a big task.
Yeah, because realistically, Cowboys, they're in a better scenario to take the division because really all Philly needs to do is just lose 1 game. We would have the better division record, and we would get the. I
mean, all things considered, they have a cakewalk. You guys have one pretty tough game.
Yeah, because if we beat this Lions team, then we'll obviously be in a better position. But if we lose, just forget it. Be prepared to be World Warriors. The Niners, the way they're looking at it, they're probably going to run away with the 1 seed. Really doubt Eagles are, going to somehow manage to cook that up. But in division terms, it's really Cowboys. That's really their most realistic route. If Philly just loses 1 game, we'd have it because it's for the division record and the conference record as well, since the Cowboys did have 1 more than them. So that's really the better scenario for them. But, it's going to be a lot to ask for that 1 seed. But, the Niner game really showed the true colors of Brock Purdy. Would it be able to bounce back against the Commanders? You would hope so, unless the Commanders, cook something up to get into Brock Purdy's pressure Brock Purdy once again, because that's what we saw. If you pressure Brock Purdy early, he's going to fumble away the whole game, and not a lot of quarterbacks they can deal well under pressure. I know Dak Prescott, he's pretty great under pressure. I mean, 42 of the time he's been blitzed, and I think his stats are pretty much decent. Lamar Jackson as well. Just that's one thing to concern for the Niners with Brock Purdy and the lingering injuries they've been getting recently.
Yeah, and obviously if you're going to look at that, you're talking about how if he gets pressured, if he gets in those tough situations, you never know with him. Let's also look at pretty good looking defense in the Rams right now. Really does look really good for Week 18. Obviously, just both kind of, I mean, I wouldn't say too trending in the wrong direction because the Niners still have looked really good for the most part. But I mean, there's definitely a shot. And talking about how we played probably in a spot where we weren't really playing our best ball, still played at, I don't remember what it was, but it was like a 1 possession, 2 possession game to end the game against the Niners in Week 2, I believe. Probably feeling a lot better going into Week 18 the way these 2 teams are looking.
Yeah, and like we've talked about that. Excuse me. Like how we talked about these past couple of weeks. The Rams, they're way better team than what the record says, and they've had a lot of improvements. In the way the Niners after that game. Rams. It's been for a couple of weeks. They have a possible shot of beating this Niners team, and obviously, like you said, if they won, they would probably put in their backups, and it would have been an easier, hopefully a better win for you guys. Obviously, with better for playoff implications in line for you guys. But that game's really going to be good. And obviously, Niners end up losing against Washington. Both those teams, it's going to be really good implications to the Niners for the 1 seed. The Rams trying to secure that playoff spot. But obviously, lots at stake here. And the Ravens, they pretty much got the blueprint to the Niners defense. Attack their linebackers. I mean, we saw Fred Warner. He was lost pretty much all game. From the get-go. That's really their strong shot at the defense. It's those linebackers. With Fred Warner being the leader, Ravens attacking that linebacker core really early in the game. And I think Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, they can easily do that. Get in their heads once again early that game. Puka's having an historic season. Cooper Kupp, a little bounce back would be nice in that game specifically, and that could be an easier way for the Rams, secure that playoff spot.
Yeah, when you see, we didn't have a guy like Demarcus Robinson firing on all cylinders back then.
He just had a random game out of nowhere, which is great for the Rams.
Well, random 4 games, being honest. Really been, obviously, himself now, just completely different. He wasn't even doing this back in the year he won the Super Bowl with the Chiefs. So, obviously, just a lot of big things. Kyren Williams was there, but he wasn't at this level that he's playing right now. So, exactly what you're saying, the way if we can, get to the defense, get everything on everything, I definitely believe there's a shot. And hey, the Rams beat the Niners in Week 18. You're going into the playoffs probably as the most dangerous team in the NFC, and I'm not gonna just, maybe it's a little bit of bias, but there's a definite shot at a playoff run going in there.
Oh, without a doubt, you guys do have a pretty slim shot at that. Not slim, but pretty great shot at that.
Yeah, possible. Hey, they expect us to be a bottom 5 team, so I'll take it for whatever. But I guess one last little thing we're gonna touch up on is there's a couple teams that got some mobile quarterbacks. I guess they're kind of in the same situation, drafting high and got definitely can. It's a decision. Are you gonna stick with these guys or are you not? We're talking about Justin Fields and Kyler Murray. So obviously I've been pretty vocal about my stance with the Bears. They definitely should stick it out with Justin Fields. I've seen, I don't remember where, but one of the biggest arguments you can make is let him play out his rookie contract, let him actually get someone around, draft a guy like Marvin Harrison. You're probably gonna have the number 1 pick, so just draft Marvin Harrison. You're getting him a top target.
Fields is all you need to do.
Now imagine having a wide receiver duo of Marvin Harrison Jr. and DJ Moore. You're setting yourself up for great success, and obviously
not DJ Moore's with the Panthers.
What?
DJ Moore's with the Panthers, then, remember?
No, they got him. They got him in that trade. See, with DJ Moore coming from that number 1 pick, they're definitely in a great position. Yeah. That if you pick up some guy, and then obviously in later rounds, maybe bolster up that old line, get Montez Sweat some help on defense. You're definitely seeing that, you actually get to see. And honestly, you probably should fire Matt Eberflus as well. I'm not really a big fan of him. He probably won't be fired, but, maybe by next season, you see if it's not enough, or maybe he does prove himself. But, I really do think as for Justin Fields, you really do have to give him some more time.
Yeah, really, he's been having some improvement, like you said, with DJ Moore. I don't know why I had a spastic moment thinking he was with the Bears than the Panthers, but regardless, having Marvin Harrison Jr. and DJ Moore, your main 2 receivers there. Sure, Darnell Mooney can be in the mix, but that would be really, really great for Justin Fields. Actually, him getting some weapons and him actually being able to sling the ball. This because I know I had my little shits and giggles about Justin Fields not being able to throw the ball deep. All he does is run, but when you can get him some competent weapons, he could probably have a run for this Bears. And they've been really needing one because your last great quarterback for the Bears was Jay Cutler, and that kind of says a lot from the lot of quarterback rotations the Bears have been having. Really build around Justin Fields. That's really what you need to do with the young defense that just needs to be bolstered, quite a little bit. It can really help, like you said, Montez Sweat. A lot of things need to be going on with that pass rush, let alone that secondary position. Another quarterback in mind that we've had to talk about that we think that they should stick with is Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is another quarterback example where he needs a team to be built around him. He came in with this Cardinals team, he had nothing, and then obviously he had some pretty good runs in the mix there, and then obviously that injury pretty much stuck him over. Now looking at this Cardinals team, their main receiver is Hollywood Brown, which don't get me wrong, he's been having quite a little bit of some growth there, but he's still young. He still needs to develop a bit. Obviously they really need a quarterback in mix. Josh Dobbs was able to kind of do that, keep him in the game, but we see how that went now. Really, Kyler Murray's really the guy for them. I really doubt really doubt they'll draft a quarterback in that position. They're another team build around Kyler Murray. That's all it needs.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
Obviously, it's the same situation. Obviously, that's why we grouped them together. I mean, obviously, they're the little run that Josh Dobbs got them on. These wins Kyler's been getting them. It's hurting their opportunity to get them a weapon. But I mean, at the same time, you have two first-round picks, and those are going to be extremely valuable. You can obviously bolster the O-line and get them some type of weapon. Don't really know what other. I mean, maybe I forgot Keon Coleman from Florida State. Definitely going to be definitely a good option there to maybe get them some weapons by the point where they would be. I mean, Houston's probably not even going to make the playoffs, so that pick does look a little better by now. So, I mean, you're going to have you definitely have options for what you can do for him. And I mean, if you think about Kyler back in, I believe it was 21, that was his best season when, I mean, they had kind of had everything in the offense catered around him. I know Cliff Kingsbury, he have our own opinions on him, but I mean, at the end of the day, it was a great season for him. Obviously he had D-Hop, which back when D-Hop was actually playing at his best level. Don't really remember that well who else they really had on that offense, but I mean, regardless, this was the team that was really catered around Kyler, and right now, I mean, obviously it's still been catered around him for the most part, but
Kyler's really the focal point of this team that they really need to really focus on.
Yeah, and I mean, sure, there was a lot of shits and giggles about Jonathan Gannon, but he definitely has a capability. I mean, give him some more time. I mean, obviously, we said about a lot of these coaches that, I mean, I was a little iffy on him to start. I will be honest, but I mean, the way he's led this team, I definitely think, we give him 2-3 years, he's definitely going to have a shot to, maybe get this team up off the ground. And I say that, as a rival fan in the NFC West.
Yeah, I mean, he came with nothing to this Cardinals team. I mean, it would be pretty stupid to fire him, this offseason. Like you said, give him a couple more years when Kyler's fully healthy. They actually have some weapons on that team. Team's fully built. Nice. Now, they're in a little rebuild, but actually have some players around that whole, both sides of the ball. Jonathan Gannon, he can obviously do well with this Cardinals team. All he needs is just time, and Kyler Murray a little bit more development with the weapons he could possibly get in this upcoming draft.
Yeah, obviously, opinion about those two. I mean, it's a little surprising to see that a lot of people really want to give up on these guys right away. Definitely. Obviously, we see this league is very much of a what have you done for me lately? But you really got to give them an opportunity to show you something. But of course, that's going to wrap us up here. Probably a little longer than we would expect it, but I guess I would say it's a pretty successful episode for what that's worth. But of course, thank you guys for watching. Hope y'all like and subscribe, and we'll see you back here for Sunday Chat.